But if you were on your own and on the move for 3 days, I should show you something that I think is very valuable. In some environments, it may be wise to remain less visible while observing an area. I'll show you what I carry in my mobility system, because the food storage system that you built earlier should also support your mobility systems. When structure weakens, normal assumptions disappear. The grocery store doesn't just restock tomorrow. Emergency response times stretch far longer than people expect. Infrastructure repairs don't happen on predictable timelines. This isn't a fantasy scenario. We've seen versions of this happen repeatedly in the real world. Major hurricanes have left entire regions without reliable services for days or weeks. Wildfire evacuations have forced families to leave homes with only minutes to prepare. Our family has experienced this. Regional power failures have shut down transportation system and supply chains. Our families experienced this as well. And periods of civil unrest have temporarily overwhelmed normal public safety resources. Events like these remind us of something important. The systems we rely on every day are incredibly strong, but they are not infinite. And when those systems thin out, even temporarily, personal preparedness becomes much more important. But here's something that surprises a lot of people. The difference between stress and stability during a multi-day disruption isn't what most people think. It's not simply how much food you've stored. It's not about how many supplies are in your basement. The real difference often comes down to something much more practical. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. But first, we need to talk about mobility, because preparedness doesn't only happen inside your home. Sometimes stability depends on your ability to move. In the last episode, we talked about short-term property awareness and the idea of a 12-hour stability kit. That system helps you remain aware of your immediate environment. But what happens when disruption lasts a lot longer? What happens when normal structure stays thin for several days, weeks, or months? This is where a multi-day mobility system becomes very valuable. Some people refer to this as a bug-out bag, but that phrase can sometimes create the wrong impression. What we're really talking about here is an extended resilience pack, a system designed to support you if conditions require several days of independence. This might include evacuation from a wildfire zone, temporary relocation during a severe storm event, or supporting family members when normal infrastructure becomes unreliable. This is not a combat loadout, although there's some capability. It's a stability system, and the principles behind this are surprisingly simple. The first principle is load discipline. Everything inside this pack must earn its place. Weight can add up quickly. Carrying unnecessary equipment increases fatigue and reduces mobility. Preparedness systems work best when they are practical, not excessive. Enough talk about it, let's get into it. A capability that becomes valuable during disruptions is observation. Situational awareness allows you to understand what is happening around you before moving into an area. Small binoculars or full-size binoculars, or a monocular, are extremely useful tools for this purpose. They allow you to observe terrain, roads, or buildings from a distance without approaching unnecessarily and risking yourself. This reduces your risk profile and helps you make better decisions. But observation also involves discretion. In some environments, it may be wise to remain less visible while observing an area. This can sometimes be accomplished by camouflage, but it can also be accomplished in the dark. And that's where this comes in. So this is an infrared monocular. It allows you to see in the dark up to 600 meters. It gives the user an advantage in the dark. There's also some disadvantages that I'm going to talk about. This allows you to see what's going on in an area It even allows you to take photos or video, and it allows you to make quality decisions where you may not be able to without this tool. A drawback and a danger to use this tool is if you are in an area that there are active people with night vision, and I mean real night vision goggles, they can see this. It has an infrared transmitter. So that infrared is very visible through night vision. Gives you away just like a flashlight. Very important to know. But observation doesn't require complex equipment. Simple items up your game significantly. Neutral clothing that blends in with natural terrain is important. Earth tone covers. You can see this is camouflage. You can get some basic camouflage netting, or if it's inclement weather, you can also wear a military camouflage poncho. And I know for some of you this comes as second nature, but even choosing natural cover such as tree lines or terrain features can reduce your visibility. You never want to silhouette yourself so that you are above whatever terrain that you are on. The goal is not to disappear completely. The goal is simply to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. And if I was in amongst buildings all the time and not just out in the wilderness, I would choose something like this. This is a completely different pack, and it looks like any other pack, but still has a 55-liter capability. So you can haul a lot of stuff in here. And in fact, this is loaded up pretty heavy. But instead of a military camouflage rucksack, which I think is a great choice for outdoors, this gives you a choice when you are in an area with buildings and other artificial structures. Preparedness planning often focuses on movement, but sometimes the smarter decision is to pause and to observe and choose the safest route forward. An essential component of a mobility system is shelter. When people think about shelter, they often think of large tents or complex setups. But in mobile situations, simplicity becomes extremely valuable. One of the most versatile pieces of shelter equipment ever developed is the military poncho. It functions as rain protection while moving, but it can also be quickly converted into a tarp shelter when you stop. And you can see just how small of a package this becomes. Hey, and with a few cords and stakes, a poncho can become a lean-to, an overhead cover, or even part of a larger shelter system. Another lightweight option is the military half shelter, sometimes called a shelter half. These were designed so two individuals could combine their halves to create a small tent. Even on their own, they provide simple weather protection and can blend well into natural terrain. Modern backpackers often use lightweight tents or bivvy shelters, which provide excellent protection with very little weight. Each approach has advantages. Ponchos like this one add versatility, tarps offer simplicity, lightweight tents offer more comfort. The key principle remains the same. A shelter system should allow you to rest, recover, and maintain your body temperature, because mobility without rest quickly turns into exhaustion. I should show you something that I think is very valuable. I actually daisy chain up my extra paracord. So this is probably about 50 feet of paracord, but when you daisy chain it like this, it takes virtually no space. And what you do is you just pull the free end. Once you unloop it, it just all strings out, doesn't get tangled. It's a beautiful way to do your paracord. Water planning becomes another major factor. A common baseline used in emergency planning is roughly 1 gallon of water per person per day. That guideline works well for stationary situations, but if you were on your own and on the move for 3 days, that would be 3 gallons of water, and that would add 24 pounds to an already heavy pack. You can't start with that much weight. When mobility enters the equation, water becomes a balance between supply and resupply. I'll show you what I carry in my mobility system. So there's two of them. There's one here and one here. And these are military surplus 2-quart canteens or a half gallon. So I'm carrying a gallon on this pack. For extenuating circumstance conditions, I wear a belt rig with this setup, which actually has 2 canteens attached to it, and that provides 2 quarts of additional water. So all in all, I'm carrying 6 quarts of water on my person. 6 quarts can get you through a hot day or maybe 2 kind of normal temperature days. But that is why purification capability becomes just as important as the water that you initially carry. Purification tablets and a hiking type filter go a long way. The nice thing about purification tablets when you're on the move is you can literally scoop up the water, drop the required amount of purification tablets in, seal it up, mix it the way it says, and let it sit for the required time. And after that required time, your water is safe and drinkable. Calories are another key component. Multi-day movements require a lot of energy, and this is where many preparedness systems start connecting together, because the food storage system that you built earlier should also support your mobility systems. Preparedness works best when these layers reinforce each other. Talking about our key concept of load distribution, one of the reasons freeze-dried food became so popular in preparedness planning is because it performs extremely well in mobile situations. Under normal circumstances, it's convenient and shelf stable. But during disruptions, it becomes something else. It becomes lightweight calorie insurance. Many freeze-dried meals contain between 400 and 800 calories per pouch. This one's right there at 610. That gives them a very favorable weight to calorie ratio compared to many traditional foods. This matters because mobility systems are also balancing 2 things: your energy intake and pack weight. A well-designed mobility system allows you to maintain energy levels without carrying excess bulk. And once again, this is where system thinking becomes important. And yes, I can almost hear in the comments, you need to carry water to rehydrate the food so it's the same weight as regular food. That is true, but on a multi-day area movement, you will have to do a water resupply. You will not always be carrying all of that water. Like I said, 3 gallons plus. You may have to treat it as you go. Freeze-dried food is lightweight during all the time before it is needed. If you were to pack regular food, you would have to carry the water weight of it too, regardless of your drinking water supply. Personal choice, but I hope that makes sense. With freeze-dried, you are in control when the water is needed for the food, and you may not even need to carry it at all. All that boils down to efficiency. I tend to carry a little bit of both. From all of my videos, your long-term food storage feeds your daily life. Your daily food rotation maintains the freshness of that supply, and your mobility system draws from these same resources when needed. Preparedness becomes far simpler when all the pieces work together. Something else begins to happen during disruption that many people underestimate. Energy consumption increases. Stress elevates the metabolic demand. Physical activity rises. Sleep quality often drops. All of these factors increase the number of calories that your body burns. And if those energy needs are not met, something important begins to decline. Your decision quality. Fatigue slows reaction time. Hunger affects mood and focus. You become hangry. Sleep deprivation makes problem solving more difficult, which is why preparedness is not only about supplies. It's about cognitive stability. Clear thinking is one of the most valuable resources during uncertain situations. Maintaining hydration, nutrition, and rest helps protect that clarity. Let me ask you something. If you had to move with your family for several days, what would you realistically be able to carry? Most people never test that question. And thinking through it ahead of time is how preparedness systems become practical rather than theoretical. Another topic that naturally comes up during these discussions about disruption is personal defense. It's important to frame this conversation properly. Under normal conditions, we operate within legal structures and responsible use standards. And these standards don't disappear simply because circumstances become difficult. Preparedness planning should always prioritize avoidance first. Avoid unnecessary exposure. Avoid unnecessary confrontation. Avoid unnecessary escalation. The most successful defensive plan is often the one that never needs to be tested. Awareness and discretion and good decision making prevent far more problems than equipment ever will. Preparedness should always aim to reduce the risk and not increase it. Earlier, I mentioned that the difference between stress and stability during a multi-day disruption is not what most people think. This is where the answer comes into focus. The real difference is physical capability, fitness. It's in this channel's name, Survival Fit Adventures. If someone cannot comfortably carry 30 to 50 pounds, their mobility system begins to break down. Fatigue sets in quickly, and decision quality drops, and movement slows. Like I said, every ounce in here has to have a good reason and a purpose, but physical fitness is very important. If you are building preparedness one layer at a time, I've created a free downloadable ebook on building a practical real-world go bag. This isn't just theory for us. Our family has had to evacuate in the past, and these are the exact principles that we've relied on. It's simple, tested, and focused on what actually matters when time is short. Consider it a thank you for being here and supporting the channel. You'll find the download link in the video description. Also, something really exciting that you can be a part of is a channel membership. This will give you access to exclusive videos, behind the scenes reviews, and show more in depth how our preparedness system works and how to implement it for yourself. Plus, be part of some exclusive live conversations. Check the membership out. Preparedness planning often focuses heavily on supplies, but supplies only work if the person carrying them is capable. This is my mini mess kit, and it's really important to me. It has everything in here to process, make, and clean up after eating food. And I know how to use it because I've practiced with this many, many times. To make sure that we are capable, preparedness should include, and I want you to think about these things, is strength. We need strength. We also need endurance. And we need flexibility and recovery. Strength to carry a large load. Endurance to carry that load a long time. Flexibility to change, to adapt. And recovery, because all of these things require a lot of effort. Our society is quite soft, and a scenario like I'm talking about would be too hard for a lot of people. That's why I'm encouraging everyone watching this to increase in these areas. You don't have to be a soldier, just increase your capacity in each of these areas. Food storage without physical capability leaves a gap in your system. Preparedness is ultimately about maintaining capability over time. Across this series, we've talked about several layers of preparedness. Food storage systems that create stability. Property awareness that creates early warnings. Short-term and long-term mobility systems that maintain independence while structures become very thin. And personal capabilities that allows all of these systems to function. Preparedness is not dramatic. It's layered. There's food, there's water, there's rotation, there's financial savings, there's security, mobility, fitness, discretion. But under disruptions, these same systems become something more important. They provide stability when external structure becomes unreliable. Preparedness isn't about expecting chaos. It's about accepting responsibility. Over the past several episodes, we've explored the idea that preparedness works best in a system. It's not just a collection of random gear. It's not a single focus like food storage, but a layered approach to stability, food systems, awareness, mobility, capability, and responsible planning. Next week, we're going to go into another topic to address an ignored area of preparedness. In addition, I'll be hosting a live conversation in the membership area soon about this entire series. What worked, what I may have missed, and what practical preparedness actually looks like in everyday life. Because one of the best parts of this channel is the community that's around it. And preparedness gets stronger when people share ideas and experience. So join us for that discussion. Until then, share this series with someone that you care about. Stay steady, stay prepared, and keep building systems that support the people that you care about.